Here are the headlines for the day. A Kentucky lawmaker is addressing police conduct and protest with 3 new bills introduced in the wake of Breonna Taylor's death. State Representative Lisa Wilner told ABC News she introduced the bills in the Kentucky General Assembly after hearing firsthand accounts of constituents who say they have been victims of police misconduct, particularly during the protests surrounding Taylor's case. One of the pieces of legislation is called the Demilitarization Bill, and it would change the state law to ban police departments from getting surplus military equipment. The bill also calls for de-escalation training, banning the use of kettling and limiting the use of weapons like rubber bullets and chemical agents. Another bill would amend the laws when it comes to riots. Under the current law, a person can be found guilty if they knowingly participate in a riot and knowingly engage in violent and unlawful conduct at the same time as 5 other people, causing a public disturbance that creates substantial imminent risk of damage to property or physical injury to person. The third bill protects people who film police activity. Under the legislation rules, people may not lawfully be asked to stop photographing or recording or to delete photographs or recordings and can't be subject to arrest for photographing or making or broadcasting the recording. These bills are going to have a hard time moving forward. As many of you may already know, Kentucky's state house is controlled by Republicans. But Wilner did note that there is nothing in these bills that reduces consequences for people willfully engaging in violent acts or destruction. So they're going to have a hard time explaining why they're going to shut these down.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I wanted to add here that because first thing is I'm like terrified of the police. Like I'm terrified I'm afraid to get pulled over, anything. So I just want to give a couple of tips for people that are if you are engaging in recording police misconduct, right? So the first thing is you have the First Amendment right to record the police misconduct of any kind. Also, if the police officer tells you to back up, as long as you comply with their orders and you are safe, you can say I'm complying with the orders and you are totally fine with recording. Also, another tip for someone, if you see something going on and you want to record it, you can set your phone to automatically back up to iCloud and Dropbox and things like that. So even if your phone dies, if it breaks, you can still have the footage. So that's for anyone. If you see anything and you want to record it, you have the First Amendment right to do so.
You guys have iPhones? You have the police app called Police?
No, I didn't know anything about that.
I don't know about that where it secretly records.
Not you teaching us about iPhone.
Yeah, and I got the Droid. So if you have iPhone, you definitely want to check into that because it's been out for a while. People were upset about it. I'm saying, look, this is an opportunity to make sure we can still record. All you got to do is say I'm being pulled over and it automatically records secretly. So that's the way to do it. Ooh. And you got to think about this as well. Imagine an officer, we've seen it happen where they've snatched people's phone out of their hands, which is totally illegal. We know that. Yeah. But when they feel they're doing something wrong, getting filmed doing something wrong, that's the first action they want to take. So what does that tell you?
You know what I wanted to talk to you guys about, like just a fact that I found out about militarization. It's been going on as far back as Prohibition era. The Detroit and Watts riots also created a, quote unquote need for the militarization of the police. But it was the 1033 program that was enacted in the wake of the 1997 North Hollywood shootout that really created really gave law enforcement that extra push to be able to give them, all the militarized weapons. Yeah. $5.1 billion in material between the years 1997 and 2014. And you know what else is really interesting? You guys remember the movie Heat and that big shootout?
Right.
Yeah.
That was 2 years before the 1997 shootout in North Hollywood, which is what was the catalyst moment for the national defense, basically saying that police departments need to be armed like they're the military. So I just found that really interesting. Yeah. So it's looking like that was the inspiration for these guys. I was going to say,
maybe they knew it was already possible, or maybe these people saw that and said, hey, let's try it. You never know.
But cinematically, that was one of the best moments in cinematic history.
That was a great
that
one.
movie. Yeah.
All right, so many Trump supporters and right-wing extremist groups are planning demonstrations that experts warn could escalate into the kind of violence seen during last week's deadly riots at the Capitol. 2 days in particular are considered at high risk of coordinated and potentially violent activity, January 17th and Inauguration Day on January the 20th. Trump supporters are expected to gather in Washington, D.C. and state capitol across the country on Sunday, and then again 3 days later for the inauguration, according to law enforcement officials and experts monitoring online posts about the upcoming events. One flyer associated with the Sunday's gatherings tell participants to come armed at your own personal discretion. Wow.
It's really interesting that, these the Trump supporters and Republicans call Democrats Democrats and independents, anybody who just doesn't go along with their conspiracy theories, et cetera, snowflakes. But all I've been seeing is when these arrests going down, these people just throwing their hands up in the air like, no, don't do it. I mean, the guy with the hat with the horns, he needs organic food in jail because he was on a food strike.
I saw that when they were talking to
and
the
they're
two
gonna
lawyers.
give it. They're
and he's going to get it.
He's going to give it to him
on religious basis because he's a shaman, which is going to be interesting if other people are going to be able to get better food.
I mean, the average prisoner has to, like, pick maggots out of their food. So,
because I'm a vegetarian, I don't know if I would.
Don't go to jail, Demi.
No, they definitely they have no meat meals and no pork because of Muslims. Also, there's different options. So I guess there's Demi. Sorry,
go ahead.
I guess there's precedent, but organic because he has this religion that.
But then you have to think about it like all these people going out here doing all this because Trump is telling you to. He's not going to bail you out.
Facts.
He's going to go on with his life about his business. Whatever may happen once he's out of the office, can't get here soon enough. But he's not going to bail you out. You're going to be all alone with the bills, with your family. And some families are being destroyed because of this.
100%,
they're getting death threats. Right, their kids can't go to school, or they're getting bothered while they're trying to Zoom because once your face is out there, you can't take that moment back.
Facts.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, so they're saying also that the social media presence for around the inauguration is much smaller than what happened at Capitol Hill, but they're expecting for it to be larger. They're also saying that the National Guard is authorized to deploy 15,000 members. So I just want to add, anyone that's going out to the inauguration, please be safe because it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Well, we're going to continue on with the conversation about the 25th Amendment. Joining us now to discuss possible unrest at the California State Capitol is Assemblymember Mike Gipson. Welcome back to the Black Report, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for inviting me back. I appreciate it.
Of course, and Happy New Year. Yesterday, you were a principal co-author supporting H.R. 7. Can you tell our soulmates about H.R. 7?
Absolutely. H.R. 7 was introduced by an independent member of the State Assembly, and I acted as a co-principal of H.R. 7. It calls on the United States Congress to move forward with impeachment proceedings, including calls upon the Vice President of the United States, Vice President Pence, to invoke the 25th Amendment. And that is very, very significant because we certainly believe that this president has been derelict in his responsibility to the United States of America. And also he betrayed the Constitution in which he took the oath of office to serve, against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We had an insurrection that took place on January the 6th that threatened our very democracy in the United States of America. And so California, being a progressive state, put forth before the legislature body on yesterday, H.R. 7 to call upon impeachment proceedings, as well as the vice president, as well as Congress to remove him from office, because we believe even though there are a few days before for January the 20th is upon us, he is unfit. Understand, this man has at his disposal is nuclear weapons of mass destructions. He can further disenfranchise and catastrophically hurt Americans by being president in the United States of America. And so we want him gone. We want him gone now.
All right. Now, as a state legislator on Capitol Hill, are you concerned that what happened in D.C. may happen at the California Capitol as well?
We are very concerned. They have been doing small demonstrations on the Capitol here in Sacramento. We will not allow what happened on January 6th in Washington, D.C. to happen in the California State Capitol. We've been in close contact with our Sergeant of Arms. She's been in contact with the National Guards, High Patrol. We will have, at our disposal, law enforcement, as well as other neighboring cities, sheriffs and police department, specifically around January the 17th and around January the 20th. Again, this is what should have taken place. If there had been a black protest at the United States Capitol, you damn well better believe they would have been ready for us. But they knew this, And it is my strongest belief that they did this deliberately, and they probably received a phone call from the president's office making sure that that kind of force was not displayed. And it sends a strong message that this man is unfit to lead this country, even with the few days he have in office. His ass must go.
Agreed.
That's deep.
You know, we want to know, have you been briefed on any possible precautions that you and other lawmakers need to take in light of the latest FBI warnings on, you know, state capitol buildings in all 50 states?
Absolutely. At airports, reducing or limiting our involvement around the Capitol outside, being very mindful of where we go when we're not at the Capitol, because you never know who may want to make a name for him or herself by taking some kind of action against lawmakers. And so we have been briefed and will continue to get briefed from our law enforcement officials on how to make sure that we are in a safe space until we weather this storm.
Okay. I wanted to ask you this real quick, Mike, because on the way in to work today, I heard that Republicans are talking about carrying firearms going into the Capitol building. Is that something that may be considered here in California as well?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. When I got elected in 2014, they just banned individuals who have CCW, that's concealed weapons permit, that you can get from your police chief or your sheriff. So the police chief or sheriffs can give it to anyone if they so choose. They were giving them out because they're to close friends. You are banned from, even if you do have a concealed weapon permit, from bringing your weapon into the state capitol. And those of us who are former law enforcement, who when those retired can still carry a concealed weapons permit, you are forbidden to bring it into the state capitol. Our sergeants, as well as High Patrol, are on heightened alert, and members have been admonished. Those who have such certifications cannot bring their weapons into the building to make sure that they don't have access to it. Because remember what happened in San Francisco with Supervisor Milken. There was a lawmaker, one of his colleagues, who brought a gun into the city hall and killed Michael Milken. And so we want to make the supervisor, and we want to make sure none of that stuff happens in our state capitol. So we've taken a lot of precautions to make sure that we can reduce any kind of attack, as well as any kind of bodily harm to anyone in the state capitol.
Good to know.
Mike, I had a couple of questions for you. One of them is, has the National Guard or extra security been called in to protect the state capitol? But the other one is about the 25th Amendment. Everybody is assuming that Mike Pence, even though he's expressed frustration with Trump at this point, not publicly but privately, they don't think that he's going to go that far. I had, a question about the 25th Amendment. He would then become the president. For a couple of days, he would become the president. But what would that do for him if he decided to pursue becoming, running for president of the United States in the future? Would that affect a two-term office that everybody wants to be a two-term president? So would that affect that by him invoking the 25th Amendment?
No, it wouldn't. He can still, if he runs and God forbid he gets elected, he can run because the president has 2 terms, a total of 8 years. He would just be finishing out the unexpired term that would not be counted against him. So he can actually serve 12 years if, in fact, he was so elected the first time, and then the second time, he can just have whatever that little short period of time under his belt, not 12 years, but under whatever that time is, 3 days. He can serve as president until January the 20th, and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is actually sworn into office. Again, I don't think that would happen. I think the best chances is through the impeachment proceedings, because what it will do is it will, if we're able to impeach him in both houses, it removes him even from running from office. So he will no longer run for office. Because remember, while we were going through this controversy, he was raising money. And he has a tremendous war chest of people who have given him money. And he said that he's going to run for president again. We don't want him, because that will be, again, very divisive. It will cause this to be rehabbed all over again. Yeah. And so the best chances of removing Donald J. Trump from office, from ever being elected again, is through these impeachment processes, which will strip him from president as well as remove him from being able to run for public office in the future. And that's what I hope happens.
Yeah, same. I think I can speak for everybody here that we all hope that that happens. So last question about the National Guard or extra security being called to protect the state capitol. Are you aware if that's happened?
Yes, I'm very aware. Our chief sergeant gave us a briefing today. I chair the Assembly Democratic Caucus, so we had a caucus call today with every one of the 60 members of the Assembly Democratic Caucus, and the chief was there. So she is in contact with the National Guards. And they are putting a plan together now, both for the 17th of January and the 20th of January, to making sure that there is a strong force of law enforcement present to address any kind of insurrection that will take place. Because we receive intelligence, we receive notifications as well as flyers calling for an attack on our state capitol, as well as other capitals across the country. And we want to be ready for any kind of incident that takes place.
Yes, we definitely want to be prepared. Thank you so much for joining us today,
sir.
Mike. Be safe, and please keep us posted on updated events.
Will do. God bless. Be safe. Thank you.
All right. Capitol Police briefed House Democrats on Monday about 3 more potentially violent planned demonstrations going to happen in D.C., with at least one involving a plot to assassinate lawmakers as a part of an insurrection. The Huffington Post first reported, and Axios has also confirmed. The warnings underscore the severity of security threats lawmakers face as Washington prepares for the inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden, coming just days after a pro-Trump mob ransacked the U.S. Capitol. The most alarming of the warnings concerned an insurrection plot that could involve demonstrators surrounding the Capitol, White House, and Supreme Court, and then blocking Democrats from entering the building, possibly by assassinating them, so the Republicans could take control of the government. Now, a few things here. I feel like what we saw last week was just the beginning, and I'm happy that the Capitol Police are, not taking it lightly this time, because we feel like where was the police at? So I'm glad that they're letting everyone know. But a couple things that they're saying that this could be the largest armed protest to ever take place on American soil, which could be happening around the inauguration. Also, there's another protest planned in honor of Ashley Babbitt. She was the Trump supporter who was killed by police. So like we said earlier, I don't think that it's going to just be a breeze. I think there's definitely going to be something crazy happening around the inauguration this year for sure.
I mean, you said the word assassinations.
Yeah.
Okay. Like that's what it's come to. Yeah. That these people feel so justified in their revolution and their movement that they can end the lives of politicians that they don't agree with. Like it's insanity, the definition of it.
I think that what we're hearing that as far as like the fact that this is not over is what caused breaking story. The New York Times is reporting that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell believes President Trump committed impeachable offenses and that he's telling his colleagues that he is happy about this because this will be a way to rid Trump of the GOP to rid themselves of Trump. Also, House Republican Conference Chair Liz Cheney, the third highest Republican, number 3 Republican in the House, and number 1 woman, has also said she would vote to impeach Trump today.
Wow.
It's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
None of them did last time.
Exactly.
Right? It's pretty powerful.
2 huge names, at least one in public, one in private, saying that they're on the side of this because they want to rid themselves of this.
Those are huge developments, Brooke. Huge.
All right, the Trump administration will no longer hold back the second dose of a coronavirus vaccine as part of a host of changes intended to speed up the pace of inoculations and make more vaccines available to the public. The sweeping changes are a major departure from current administration policy, and they also align with a plan unveiled by President-elect Joe Biden to release nearly every available vaccine dose. The Trump administration has been holding back half of the available doses to make sure there is enough supply for everyone who is getting a first dose to later get a second dose as well. In an interview on ABC's Good Morning America today, Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar said that policy is changed, effective immediately.
This is just a staging, moving to the next phase on the vaccine program. We've had so much success with quality and predictable manufacturing and almost flawless distribution of the vaccine. But we have seen now that the administration in the states has been too narrowly focused. And so what are we doing? 3 things. First, we have already made available every dose of vaccine. So we had been holding back second doses as a safety stock. We now believe that our manufacturing is predictable enough that we can ensure second doses are available for people from ongoing production. So everything is now available to our states and our healthcare providers. Second, we are calling on our governors to now vaccinate people age 65 and over and under age 65 with a comorbidity, because we have got to expand the group. We've already distributed more vaccine than we have healthcare workers and people in nursing homes. Third, we've got to get to more channels of administration.
So this is from a federal level, but the issue that we're having here also is that once the vaccines are released, every governor is the one who controls the distribution. And we're seeing some issues because medical providers in New York State have said they've had to throw out expired vaccine doses because they couldn't find enough people who fit the state's pretty strict guidelines that want to take them.
Yeah.
They were having to throw them out, and this caused Governor Andrew Cuomo to loosen the restrictions on who can be vaccinated. He did this twice in 2 days because we're having, people are refusing, healthcare workers, some elderly people, and so they're having to open up the doors for more people to get in line because the people with the strict restrictions, some people are saying, no, we don't want it.
Yeah. So we're banking on making sure that second dose will be ready for the people. That's what it sounds like, right? And that just makes me a little nervous because you understand it wasn't organized when it first came out. There was a problem because Trump wasn't focusing on this. He was still trying to say he won the election. So I'm hoping that the situation can be where everyone can be vaccinated and be ready for their second shot. Because if you think about it, by 2021 of April 2021, people were banking on us being back to normalcy. No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
All right, so I actually pulled a couple comments. I'm switching it up today, okay? I pulled a couple comments from our Instagram Fox Soulmates, our YouTube Soulmates. Don't worry, you guys are coming up soon. But everyone seems to be talking about our video that we posted yesterday about Trump being impeached. SRP 2489 says the process is taking too long to impeach, okay? He's out next week. She wants it to speed up. Alexis Sharnafit says he needs to be impeached and face criminal charges. One more. Gilliam M. Mike says Trump is for Trump, and it amazes me the loyalty his base shows him when he wouldn't blink on them if they caught fire in front of him. Ooh, that one was intense. Okay, keep on commenting. In the meantime, Romeo's going to let us know what's coming up next.
All right,